Uhuru, brothers and sisters and comrades. I'd like to welcome everyone to this web event. My name is Omali Yeshitela, and I'm chairman of the African People's Socialist Party. It's fitting that the title of this program is bigger than St. Petersburg, Reparations on the Ballot. It appears that suddenly reparations is the rage in this country. As recently as today, there was a congressional hearing, I think, from the Judiciary Committee to talk about reparations, to discuss a bill, I think it's House Resolution 40, H.R. 40, that was introduced by John Cainion out of Detroit some many years ago. So it looks like it's fitting, and I think that it's bigger than St. Petersburg, reparations on the battle. I think the congressional hearing today helps to make that point. But for us in the African People's Socialist Party, we want to talk about not reparations as some kind of empty or abstract concept, not reparations that would be dependent on the goodwill of the Congress or the goodwill of any entity of the government. Rather, the reparations we want to talk about is something that comes as a consequence of struggle, consequence of the involvement of people that, despite what the government might want to do at any given moment, they would be forced to do what is correct by what we've introduced to the consciousness of the people. We made a prediction some 40 years ago, in 1980 at least, that, or 39 years ago, that we had to make reparations a household word. That is to say, the African People's Socialist Party. That reparations work had been done prior to then. There were people who were quite active even when we made the statement. In fact, they helped to influence our need to make the statement that reparations had to be a household word, because most of them were briefcase-toting individuals who were trying to convince some legislature or trying to get some court to hear the issue of reparations. It was clear to us at the time that for reparations to be meaningful, it had to be understood as a function of the revolution, one. And two, it had to be the property of the people. The demand had to be something that comes from the people. It had to be made a mass issue. And the other thing that we predicted was that at the point reparations becomes a mass issue, that more and more Africans unite with this demand, that it will become a material force. And we will see the U.S. government making moves to try to find a sector of the African population for whom they could grant something that they call reparations as a means to quiet this movement, quiet the struggle, to smother the struggle, if you will. And clearly, reparations has become a household word. And the fact is that we set out in 1981 with our Congress, the first Congress of our party held some 9 years after our founding in Oakland, California. We passed a resolution that we would initiate a fierce struggle for reparations. In 1982, to carry out that resolution, we organized in Brooklyn, New York, the first tribunal on reparations for African people in the United States. We felt like it was important not just to say that reparations were something that we demanded, but to actually begin to put forth concrete evidence of the wrongs that have been done to African people, to hold evidentiary hearings, more or less, that we put together in form of a tribunal where historians made presentations, where economists spoke, where healthcare workers, where people who had been victimized by prison terror. Tupac Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, who was one of the Panther 21, was one of the presenters at that World Tribunal on Reparations for African People. There was Leonard Jeffries, made the first significant presentation at that World Tribunal. Following that, in 1983, I traveled throughout Europe, first to England for an international book fair, black and radical book fair. I went to Ireland with the reparations demand. I won support for the reparations demand from the Irish Republican Socialist Party that held a press conference uniting with the demand in Belfast, Northern Ireland, that declared that they would not even take money from Irish persons in the United States who ordinarily and traditionally supported the struggle of the Irish people in Northern Ireland against British colonialism, if those Irish persons in the United States acted in opposition to the struggle of African people for reparations and for our liberation. I traveled throughout Europe into France and other places, pushing the demand for reparations for African people. And we organized the World Tribunal, as I mentioned, in 1982, and subsequent to that, we organized the African National Reparations Organization, the function of which was to make the struggle for reparations and to tie every issue, every struggle, every question that was happening to African people, with African people in this country, to the question of reparations. So this was a part of the work that we've done to make reparations a mass demand. We were in Durban in 2001 when the question came before the United Nations in South Africa with the demand for reparations. So the work has been going on for a long time. It's much, 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 much bigger than St. Petersburg. But in St. Petersburg, Florida, the headquarters of the African People's Socialist Party for a very long time, we have a practical program, a reparations program happening here, because we are a political party of practice, and we are practical revolutionaries. And African internationalism, our theory, is in fact a theory of practice. And so if we say that we are fighting for reparations, then that's something that must manifest itself in a very real way. And it has always represented itself in a real way. And right now in St. Petersburg, Florida, as an example, we are pushing a political campaign, two political campaigns of this year, 2019. We initiated a campaign 2018 with Eritha Akilé Cainion, running for District 6 City Council seat, and Jesse Neville, a North American or white man who is a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee under our leadership, running for mayor in a city that's only 23% African, under the slogan, unity through reparations. It's a practical question. We believe that reparations can be won, but it won't come from a Congress. It's something that we're going to have to fight for to make it happen. And we feel like what we have seen happen in the Congress today was important, historical in many ways, because what we've been struggling for the last 40 years or so, we saw made manifest that reparations has become a household word. And also the other reality is that we see the beginning of a process that, should it have its way, we'll see the U.S. government capturing that demand and turning it into something else, some new, modern, newfangled, if you will, program of welfare or poverty program. But real reparations can only come with power. And that's the struggle that we're involved in as well. I want you to support these candidates in St. Petersburg, Florida. I want you to support Eritha Akilé Cainion, who is running for City Council in District 7. And the theme of her campaign is Make the South Side Black Again. And the theme is called Make the South Side Black Again because here in St. Petersburg, with a 23% African population, we are facing the same contradictions of Africans throughout this country, with gentrification, with being pushed out of our communities. And we are able to stand on one avenue and look across the street and see high-rises and new buildings and businesses being constructed everywhere. And then we see on the other side the massive imposition of a gentrified situation where people are being pushed out of their houses, their communities, and the like. And we see actual dome that was created in the city of St. Petersburg for a baseball team that didn't exist when they first created it. In order to put it there, they had to demolish more than 100 businesses and 800 homes of black people. They had to pave over a graveyard, an African graveyard, to put it there. And this displaced, as I mentioned, something like 100 families, or 800 families, and something like 100 businesses. That has to be repaired. We want the dome back. And this is part of the demand that's coming from this campaign. This is not some empty, abstract demand for reparations. We say the damage has to be repaired. We also, in this city, have seen a housing project that has been demolished and sold, as being sold to private investors. A housing project on land that was given to the city of St. Petersburg for black housing by a man named Elder Jordan many, many years ago for black housing. And what has happened is the city used it, put a housing project down there. Africans lived in that housing project for many years. Now, as a part of a process of gentrification, they're pushing Africans out. And we expect to see townhouses and things like that created in places where we normally lived. Make the South Side black again means taking that on. Make the South Side black again means redoing the borders, the electoral borders in the city of St. Petersburg, where once out of the 8 districts that comprise the districts of the city council, 3 of them were African. Now only 1 is African, and because of gerrymandering, they recarved it and carved the African population out of it in a very significant way. So this is the struggle that we are involved in and that these candidates are involved in. And then there's the candidate Anne Hirsch, who's been a part of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, or the Solidarity Movement under the leadership of the African Party, People's Socialist Party, for more than 20 years. She's a midwife. Her occupation is bringing life, helping life to come into the world. But her profession has been one of revolutionary struggle to push the demand for reparations and solidarity with African people. And she's running also for city council, and her district is District 5. And we need $2,000 now because what's happening is that this is not just some empty demand that we're making. We are fighting a serious campaign. We're fighting serious enemies. The major corporations and developers who are building high-rises here, who are taking African properties here, they are funding the other candidates. They are funding the candidates that we are up against. And we have to be able to organize and depend on you. Those of you who support the demand for reparations, those of you who are opposed to gentrification of the African community, have to put your money where your mouth is, because again, it's bigger than St. Petersburg. Harlem is no longer majority African. Washington, D.C. is no longer majority African. And the reparations demand is now something that's being hijacked from the African community to turn into something that will serve our enemies if we do not act now. And when we say reparations, we're talking about winning masses of people, white people included, to unite with this demand for reparations to African people in a very concrete way. So this is what we are calling on you to work with. We think that we can beat these guys, but we've got to put out a publication in the next few days to tell our own story, because the local ruling media here will do everything they can to make sure that this story does not get told. The fact of the matter is, in this city and all cities throughout the country, you find that the majority of the people who are actively engaged, participating in the electoral political arena, it's only a handful of people who make decisions for everybody else. And they work very hard to make sure that no critical issue reaches the ballot, that no critical issue is being debated. They don't want the majority of the people to participate. If they did, they wouldn't have worked so hard in 2017 to make sure that our candidate for mayor that was calling for reparations, unity through reparations, could not, for the first time in the history of the city's electoral process, could not participate in a debate, the mayor's debate, where the most exciting debates that occurred in the city were debates we were involved in. Where on one occasion when this candidate and Akilé Cainion participated in a debate at the Hilton Hotel of all places. The Hilton Hotel that actually took some of the so-called monies that's designed to cure blight in the city of St. Petersburg and used it for a parking lot. The Hilton Hotel, some 21 police cars came because of the debate, and not because of a fight, not because of anything, because of the debate around reparations. This was the infamous debate around reparations when one of the mayor's candidates, I think his name was Kagame or something like that, stood up and said that you've got your reparations with the election of Obama, and that if you don't like it, go back to Africa. This is a statement of the seriousness of this debate, the seriousness of this question. And yet, the ruling class media here have done everything possible to keep us from being heard or seen by the masses of the people. They want to craft this discussion. They want to shape this narrative themselves to make it whatever happened means what they want it to mean. They don't want to talk about how our opponents are persons who are being funded by the same developers, the same big money forces that are pushing our people out of our communities. Then not only that, but they're funded twice. Once by the developers directly, and then indirectly by people on the city council who gerrymandered the community in the first place to make it impossible for us to have more than one opportunity to be elected, that these people also taking money that they get from the developers and giving it to our opponents. And our opponents, two, one in District 5, one in District 7, they're working together. They're working in tandem because they got the same bosses. So we know that you are the boss and that this campaign relies on what you bring to it. You have to support this campaign. We need $1,000. We need to raise $2,000 tonight, but we need $1,000 just for the newspaper that we have to put out promoting these campaigns and these candidates, because the ruling class newspaper is not going to do it. And our objective is to put almost as many newspapers in the hands of the people that come from this campaign that the ruling class will be able to put in the hands of the people in this city. So you have to help do that. You have to actively join in the struggle against the corporations that are trying to make sure that reparations is only something that's talked about in a congressional hearing, or reparations is only something that will be framed as a part of some lunatic discussion. We can make reparations real. You can do that, but you have to join and unite with this campaign. So we've got Anne Hirsch, a white woman, who is talking about unity through reparations, who defines her participation in this debate as uniting with African people's just demand for reparations. And we have Akilé Cainion, who is saying, make the South Side black again. It used to be black, and it used to have some kind of economic life. Today, there's not a grocery store, there's not a dry cleaners, there's not a nightclub, there's not a service station, there's nothing that's owned by the African community here, and we are fighting to take it back. We want the dome. These candidates say they're going to get us the dome. They say this is reparations. We want Jordan Park, the land that Jordan Park is on, and we need a massive infusion of capital. And we're not asking for handouts. We're saying you, the city, has to repair the damage that they've done to this community, and you can join in with this struggle. Because this is how reparations has to happen. When I say this is how, I mean through struggle. This is not the only means, that only form of struggle that it would take. Believe me, it's going to take all forms of struggle, but this is how it has to happen, through struggle. And you have to participate in the struggle, because the struggle has to also result in power to the African community. Because even if the government should so decide that they're going to give some money to African people for one of these jive time poverty programs or something like that, if Africans have no power, then it's just money that goes right back where it came from. So we have to fight for power. And this is one of the means through which we fight for power, when we empower the people. Our objective is to mobilize African people, to mobilize everybody who can be mobilized, to mobilize you to actively participate in the struggle to win reparations. This is the only way it's going to happen. It's the only way it's going to happen as a consequence even of that hearing that they had in Washington, D.C. The people are going to have to be mobilized, and the Congress and the courts and everybody is going to have to understand that if we do not get the reparations, then this explosive thing that has forced you to act like you believe in reparations in the first place is something that you'll have to contend with in real life. So we're calling on you to join this movement, to join in with all the other people who are part of this movement, to win genuine reparations, to win genuine attack, to push back gentrification. That's our call. And we've seen already through the communiques that we've gotten from people, through the interest that's been shown in this campaign, that you are there and you're ready to struggle. And I think that all we got to do now is take it on, and we can kick their asses. And that's our objective, to kick the ass of the ruling class, to take the reparations that's due us. You have to participate in this. Many have already joined in this process. And then St. Petersburg, as you know, is just one front of the reparations struggle that we're waging inside our movement. But these are extraordinary candidates, and we are going to show you how we can use the electoral process if we win the masses to support the demand for reparations in genuine terms that speak to the interests of the people, not through some program that they come. When we say we want Jordan Park, when we say we want the Dome, when we say we want the massive infusion of capital, we know that the city and the corporations are not prepared to do that. You have to do that. And the masses of people in this city, we have to awaken them to unite with this demand, and that's the thing that's going to make it happen. So we need $2,000. We need $2,000, and somebody can end this web event right now by posting $2,000. And my understanding is what we have to do is that you can donate now at Vote Akilé, that's VOTEAKILE.com, and Vote Hirsch, that's HIRSCH.com, and send some money right away so that we can go ahead and do the job that the people have called on us to do, including you. So I just wanted to open it up, and we have some wonderful candidates here who will also have some things to say, and there it is. So can we... So maybe we can move with Comrade Eritha Akilé Cainion, who is, I want to say, a long time member of this movement, but she's only 22. But most of those 22 years have been associated with the Uhuru movement. Her father has long been a part of this movement, and other relatives have been a part of this movement. And she was, one juncture, accused of being my granddaughter. And I say accused, I mean, I don't know why, that's an accusation. There was an accusation that she was my granddaughter, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that she's been in this movement forever, for much of her life. And as I mentioned 2 years ago, she ran for city council again, and this time we're going to bring it home. So we have to have the support of everybody here to make that happen. And here's Eritha Akilé Cainion to say some things about give us the money.
First, I really want to appreciate you, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and that introduction as well as that entire overview, because it puts into context everything it is that we're doing, because we're not engaged here in the city of St. Pete in some isolated, struggle for reparations, that this is a part of an ongoing, struggle to, achieve genuine reparations. And it's, as Chairman said, it goes back, it's, started in 1972 with the founding of the African People's Socialist Party, and the party made reparations a household word in 1982 with, just through this history. And so these elections are a part of that, historical continuum. And as mentioned, we ran for office in 2017 on this platform where the Uhuru movement had the first reparations electoral candidates in the world. So there are all these candidates within the Democratic Party running for president today talking about reparations and that they support some form of reparations. And that discussion didn't just happen or pop up out of nowhere. That came up based on what it is that we have been doing in this election that we did in 2017, where we were told if we ran on a platform of reparations, we could not win, that it was unthinkable, don't say reparations, you will not win an election. And now you have all of these people trying to win an election using reparations. And we not only want to claim that, but we have to bring back home what it means, what reparations means, because it's not a welfare program, it's not charity. And what we're talking about doing here in the city of St. Pete, when we're saying we want the land that was destroyed by dropping the Tropicana Field baseball stadium on top of the gas plant district, when we say we want that land back as a means to create economic development and affordable housing in the Black community, that's not a welfare check, that's not a charity program, that's creating economic self-determination in our community. That's what it's about, bringing economic and political power into the hands of the Black community, and creating a situation where, we don't ever have to experience what it is that we've, been experiencing in this city. And it's been a part of a decades-long plan that they've really been, working. And Chairman mentioned some of those things. We talked about Tropicana Field. There was this community called Methodist Town that they call a whole different name now that people don't even know the history of, because it, any trace of economic life and a cohesive Black community in the city has been destroyed. There was, an entire, strip of businesses in the Black community that was destroyed with an interstate, so that white people could easily, get to the beach, to and from St. Pete, and destroyed the economic life that was on the strip of 22nd Street. And then we also have a situation where we're dealing with, these land developers, praying over what is called Jordan Park, which is a community that was given to us by a Black man named Elder Jordan, who donated this land to the city to build dignified and affordable housing for Black people, and now this city is attempting to take that away. They want to, they're pushing out the residents of Jordan Park as we're having this discussion, and to try to build what they've been building, which are all these luxury apartments, these, condominiums that have driven up the cost of rent and, the housing for everybody in this city. So you have a situation where the average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment here in this city is now $1,400 based on the luxury apartments they're building downtown, and that's higher than East New York. And where you have a situation where, Black people in this city, the average Black family is spending 54% of their income to rent alone, and so not to factor in all the other things that obviously Black families need and have to do in order to survive. 54% of that income is going towards rent, and it's becoming increasingly unaffordable in the city. But it started with the oppression of the Black community, and now everybody's experiencing it, what I'm talking about. But the city, we have this this government that is the same kind of government that exists all throughout this country. And we're saying that St. Pete was the first city that made reparations, like this it was this city that put reparations on the ballot, and it's going to be this city that makes reparations happen, that wins reparations in City Hall. Like, that's what this city is going to be able to do, and it's going to transform what it is that we see in the world. It's going to transform even the discussion that's being had on the national and international level. What is reparations going to look like? And it's going to be this city that really transforms that, and I think it's very important for everybody who's watching this right now, even if you're not in the city of St. Pete, to understand the implications that winning, this election has for our entire movement and, this whole question of reparations, because it's huge. And that, no one can say that they don't understand reparations, they don't know what it's going to look like, or et cetera, because we're going to be the model. We're going to be the example. And it's, we also in this city, it's really important because I'm a young black woman. It was mentioned I'm 22 years old, and I've lived in this city my entire life. And the city government, it doesn't, they slander young black people. Black people are the problem. We are the reason why we are in poverty, why we're poor, why we're homeless, why we don't have jobs. They say that young black people out here sagging our pants. Or, they got this thing called toe tagging. And last election, it was a thing like black people were stealing cars. And that was what made the front page of every local newspaper here. And that was in the faces of every black person in the city. And it was this slander, this vicious assault that was happening against black people, young black men specifically, in this city. And I think it's really important to be able to point the finger at who the real criminals are, who the real people are who are taking away this community, that are pushing these young black men in prison, who are, slamming black people up against police cars, deploying police cars on every single corner of the street, who have been responsible for dumping 1 billion gallons of sewage into people's water. And I got names of those people. That's Rick Kreisman, that's the mayor, that's my current opponent, who I'm running against, who's trying to continue, who works for Kreisman, who works for the big developers in City Hall, who works for the people who are responsible for these attacks, this undeclared war against our community. And so these are the types of people that I represent. I represent, the young black working class community in the city of St. Pete. I represent young black men who have been thrown in jail and labeled felons and have to carry that label with them for the rest of their lives. And that's the kind of voices that are being brought through this campaign, because this discussion wouldn't be had, the platform of reparations wouldn't be talked about, and the voices of these brothers and sisters that I'm talking about would never be heard if we were not running for office. The whole discussion would be contained. They would be able to do all their deals in a room and back door somewhere, and they would never, ever, ever have to talk about what it is that we're talking about. But we are forcing them to have to deal with this discussion. We are forcing them to have to deal with the same community they continuously slander on a daily basis, and we are building a social movement here in this city because as Chairman said, reparations is a demand that has to grip the masses, and once that happens, it'll go far and wide. And so this is a platform that we want to grip the masses, which means that all the work that we have to do in order to make that happen, including this publication that we have to put out, 20,000, newspapers out and just distributing them everywhere that we can, so that we can tell the story that the media and these crooked politicians refuse to tell the people because they don't want us involved in this process. But we're bringing everybody, every single person that believes in this vision, that believes in social and economic justice, who calls himself a socialist, has to support reparations to the black community. That is the most socialist principle, returning the value of stolen labor back to the black community. All the labor that's been stolen, all the resources that's been stolen, the land that's been stolen from our community, the most socialist stance is reparations. And so everybody who says that that's what they unite with has to support this campaign. And wherever you are, because we need all of you. If you're not in Florida, if you're not in St. Pete, everybody watching from no matter where you are, this impacts you. As it says in the title, it's bigger than St. Pete. This means something for the world, and you all have the ability right now to make history. You have the ability to make history, make sure that these platforms win, these campaigns win, because it's not about an election. It's not about winning an election. It's about what it is that we have been able to do, what kind of impact we've been able to make, and what kind of pressure we've been able to apply to the system that is solely based on exploiting and oppressing the black community in order for its survival. We have to say we are totally opposed to that. We have to be intolerable against injustice. We have to be disgusted with what the city government has done to black black people in this city, and then we can say, okay, now we're on a progressive trajectory. Reparations and economic development to the black community is the most progressive stance in the world today, and that's why everybody is, clamoring to be on this side, and of course we're on the correct side. So, I just really appreciate being able to do this. And the last thing I wanted to say was that it's going to take reparations in order to actually make any kind of, anything happen for the black community. Because all these disparity studies that are happening in the world today say that the only way to bridge this wealth gap between the black community and the white community is through a mass infusion of capital. I'm not saying anything different when I say reparations to the black community. They say 228 years, that's what it'll take for the average black family to catch up to the average white community. We don't have that long. We don't have another 4 years. We don't have another 2. It has to happen right now, and we can do that with you. So go to voteakile.com, go to votehirsch.com, make your contributions today. Let's make this happen for St. Pete, and we make something happen for the world. Uhura.
Clearly, this is not a sterile discussion that you'll get in a congressional hearing in this country. And this is not to downplay the significance of the fact that we forced the U.S. Congress to have to deal with this issue of reparations. But it didn't just happen. I mean, what is it about 2019 that suddenly made the Democratic candidates, despite the fact that the person who was the standard bearer for the last presidential election, Barack Hussein Obama, was opposed to reparations. Despite the fact that when we first took on the reparations demand, by the way, the African National Reparations Organization that we created had its headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, and Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign used it for his campaign. And he was unable to support the demand for reparations even then when he was asked because it wasn't germane. And so now suddenly it's germane. And what makes it germane? It didn't just get germane, it's germane because there are thousands of people, white people and others, who go to institutions that are owned by the Uhuru movement that's based on reparations. It's germane today because there are thousands of people who see the economic development programs that we are running in St. Louis today, the Black Power Blueprint that is calling for reparations, from concrete programs for reparations that provides power and economic development for the African community. And if you listen to what Comrade Akilé has just talked about, I mean, these are real conditions, real human beings who are being crushed daily by their relationship to the system. And now we have an opportunity to say that reparations is not a spectator sport. Is something that you can be involved in and must be involved in, and thousands of people in various places who are associated or understand and participate with the Uhuru movement involved in the reparations demand. Today, right now, we are raising $2,000. We've got these incredible candidates. And this is a part of a revolutionary trajectory that we're on. The objective is to mobilize people to unite with reparations. Damn the Congress. The people have to be, thousands of you have to respond to this demand for reparations. That is the thing that's going to determine what it looks like. Not the Congress, but you. And what it has to look like is that dome here in St. Petersburg, Florida, that's displaced 800 African families, 100 businesses has to be returned, and capital that will allow it to be developed to something for African people has to be made available. Jordan Park has to be returned. A massive infusion of capital has to come into the city for the destruction of all the businesses that have been destroyed by city policy, economic development for the white community, for the white developers, etc. This is what we're dealing with, and you have an opportunity again to say to the world that reparations is not a spectator sport, that you are stepping forward. I don't expect the government to do this, but the people can do anything. And you have to be part of this swelling demand for reparations, because the only reason the government is looking at the question is because they see that in the people, this uprising around this demand is forthcoming. So now we have this Anne Hirsch, who is running for for election in District 5. District 5 used to be a majority African district. And Anne Hirsch is an important part of this campaign. The fact is that Akilé and Anne are running this campaign as a joint campaign, more or less, because Anne is this white person who's speaking to white people about the justness of the demand for reparations and how white people can only resolve their contradictions, their problems with a vicious social system called capitalism by uniting with black people who've been fighting this system now for something more than 200 years. And this is going to be an interesting election. And we are going to win this election, and you have this opportunity now to join in with this process and with the thousands of people who are already on board. Anne, please.
Thank you, Chairman.
Anne Hirsch, yes.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Akilé. Really appreciate those overviews. And yes, I'm running for District 5 City Council as a white woman on a platform of unity through reparations to the black community. I actually met this movement and learned about reparations to the black community back in 2001 when the chairman ran for mayor. And for me as a white person, I was just astounded to hear this analysis. No one had ever taught me it in school, you know, but I was really moved by it, and so that's when I began actually under the leadership of the party in USM, going out and raising reparations from individual white people who united with the fact that, you know, our lives were built at the expense of the expense of black people in St. Petersburg and all around the world. And I've raised thousands of dollars under the leadership of USM for projects in the black community, owned and operated collectively by the community under the leadership of the Huru movement. And so now I believe it's the time to ask our city government to do that. And I know that there are many, many white people who unite with this. You know, we are tired of our city government counting on us to support gentrification, you know, to be building restaurants and cafes for lattes and, you know, cultural museums and breweries. There's a lot of breweries now being built on land that belong to the black community. And you know, I don't want that in my city, and I know so many other white people who don't either. You know, because what that means is people who have to move out of where they've always lived. It means teenagers getting brutalized, you know, being stopped when on groups of teenagers on a corner just being targeted, black people on bikes being targeted. Even one person when I was out the other day, I guess that was phone banking, she told me her son, she's black, and her son was driving a car and the police pulled him over and ended up putting a gun to his head. I mean, we do not want that. I know I don't want that, and I know other white people don't want that for the black community. You know, as when I was raising my daughter here, who's 35 now, and I have grandchildren, but when I was raising her, I never in my wildest dreams thought that the police would ever do anything like that to her. White people don't have to worry about that. And it just makes my heart sick for every African mother who has to worry about, is her son gonna come home tonight? I mean, that is a horrible thing for a mother to have to live with. And I know that there's so many people in the white community who don't unite with that. And so, you know, we don't want to be complicit anymore. We don't want our city to think that they can count on us to gentrify the black community, to steal Jordan Park out from underneath the elderly people who live there, to develop that for some project for the white community, and disperse those older people who are now in various parts of St. Petersburg. One place that a lot of those people were rehoused was way up by a bridge that's almost in Tampa. And, you know, these are people who had a community that they were connected to. You know, and as a midwife who works with families, I don't want to see black people, you know, just completely disconnected, unable to, you know, not having the money, maybe too elderly to travel on the bus because the bus system here is horrible. And so, you know, just completely disconnected from their community by gentrification. So what we're saying in this campaign is, no, you can't do that anymore to our city government. We are not going to stand by and let you do that. You're going to have to face the white community as well. You're going to have to face opposition from your own people, you know, because that's how the people in this city government are. They want development for the white community. But what we're now finding is that white people, first the black community is gentrified, and now white working people are being pushed out of the city. Now this city government that's always wanted to develop the white community, now they're just developing for the 1%, for the elite in the city. All of these condos, they're not for us. They're not for the black community, and they're not for the working class white community. And so, you know, if we join with the black community, the people who've been most oppressed in our city, the people that our whole ability to send our children to college, to do the various recreations that we do in St. Petersburg, you know, the people that have been most oppressed to make that happen, if we join with those people, with the black community, and say no, you know, then there's a lot of us in the city fighting back against this just really criminal, greedy aspect of St. Petersburg. And as you know, that happens in every single city. And so with these campaigns, we have the opportunity to take a different stand. We have the opportunity to say, we support reparations. And we know that the investment of our tax dollars in reparations is good for all of us. That when we invest the tax dollars in, first we return the dome and put this capital return it to the black community. I mean, in the last few years, they've spent $84 million of our tax money to build a police station. They're going to spend $1 million to put a piece of artwork on the pier, and they have $35 million in a fund for parking and transportation for the rich people who live in the condos and the rich tourists that come here. So we know that all of that money, like what did that come to? Almost $200,000. I would rather have that money invested in returning what's been stolen to the black community to build self-determined institutions for themselves. And when we say, I really just want to reiterate what the chairman and Akilé have said, that reparations is not welfare or some project done and controlled by the city. Reparations is returning that land and the massive infusion of capital to the black community so it is under their control, so that the black community can decide, do they want to build affordable housing? Do they want to build some cultural venues and some businesses? But this is going to be controlled by the black community. And then when you do that, it brings commerce between people in the community, and it begins to uplift the community, and then it uplifts the whole city. I would much rather have my tax dollars put in repairing and restoring the destruction that's been perpetrated against the black community than all these other things that my city is doing for the benefit of a few greedy politicians and people, developers who don't even live in my city. And so when we create a situation where we create public policy of reparations, then we create a city that is for people, not for profit. And we can all move forward together. You know, it's really important that we in the white community understand, and so many people that I've talked to do, and that's why they support this campaign. It's not a matter of saying, we're really sorry for what's happened in the past. Now we all just need to move forward together. Absolutely not. That is completely ridiculous. We need to repair what we have damaged and destroyed. And when we do that, then we can have a city that is united, a city where people have what they need. And this is going to be a safe city, because when people are able to feed, clothe, and house themselves, then we have a situation where people are empowered. And it's a bold vision, but it's one that is so inspiring to so many people that we can move forward. We can change history in the United States by beginning first here in St. Petersburg, Florida, to change history and unite the city around reparations and economic development for the Black community. And so I really just want to echo the call. If you're a white person who believes in reparations and you want to see this go a step forward, we've seen that this party put it on the map, was the first candidates to actually bring it into the electoral arena. And so now we're going to finish that. 2 candidates in the city council, 1 Black, 1 white, fighting for this platform. And I just think it's a brilliant strategy and really excited. So please, if you are white and you're out there listening, send your money in today. You can begin paying reparations to support this project that will make the city of St. Petersburg pay reparations to the Black community.
I want to thank Anne Hirsch for that presentation and telling you why you should send money right away, $2,000. But the congressional hearing on today, the first person to speak was, other than the chair of the committee, was a white man from Louisiana, which has its own history. But this man, after saying that he knew 2 Black persons who definitely were not for reparations. One was Barack Hussein Obama, and I thought it was really important that he raised Obama as the person who was opposed to reparations. Obama is opposed to reparations, was opposed to reparations. We see how the wind is blowing now. And the other person was his Black son, who he adopted when he was 14 years old and was just getting in all kind of trouble and had a horrible life until he was rescued by this guy. And his Black son said, he asked his Black son, what you think of reparations? And his Black son, who is now, I think, 30-something, thought about it and gave a real thoughtful response. That he was opposed to reparations too. So we know that this guy, Obama, and his Black son are both opposed to reparations. He went further to talk about how the reparations demand is so unfair to white people who only a handful of white people who actually owned slaves, and some white people came to this country after slavery was abolished, and it's just unfair for these white people to be asked to pay reparations. And the reason that this even got any traction or anything that looks like traction is because they don't have to deal with the fact that reparations are being collected every day by the African People's Socialist Party. That there are thousands of white people like Anne, who just spoke. There are thousands of them who actively participate in institutions that we've created for the purpose of acquiring reparations from white people. I mean, literally thousands who are doing this in our furniture stores in Philadelphia and Oakland, California, and our other institutions that we've created. The Black Power Blueprint project that we have, thousands of white people. This is one of the missing things from this little sterile discussion that they're having in the Congress, because they're having this discussion as if reparations was just something that they discovered and something just that they want to make happen. We're saying reparations is an active occurrence right now. And this campaign is one of the things. It's alive. It's a living, dynamic struggle. Like we said, reparations is not a spectator game. It's not a spectator sport. It's not a spectator politician. It gives everybody an opportunity to play a role. And we've seen thousands of white people and Africans and white people who unite with the reparations demand. And white people said, I owe reparations and I'm giving this reparations right now. So, and if you look at the, even some of the participants, the witnesses that they had, most of whom never had anything to do with actually fighting for and winning reparations. They're well known, actors and writers and things like that, but in terms of being in the trenches, actually making reparations happen, they haven't done that. And this is, a lot of people haven't done stuff, but the point that I'm making is that we have, and this campaign is doing that. And you must join this campaign like the thousands of other people who support the demand for reparations. We can win this election. We have to win this election. And we win this election not just for St. Petersburg, which only has a 23% African population. But look at St. Louis with the 50% African population. Look at Chicago. Look at all the various places throughout New York. This campaign can be a model that can be utilized throughout this country. And again, the question is not winning the government, they're winning the people. Once the people say reparations, and reparations will happen. Whether the Congress wants it or not, you get a movement of people demanding reparations, then the sky's the limit. Yeah. And so this is your opportunity to join with everybody else who is working for this reparation demand and support these incredible candidates in this victory that we are going to be achieving in August. So I want to turn it back over, and again, we're calling on people to give us the $2,000. You can again go to go to voteakile.com, and you can go and that's AKILE, voteakile.com, one word. And vote Hirsch, HIRSCH.com, one word. $2,000. Should be easy to do.
Yes. I just want to give, one more round of applause for Chairman and, the presentation today. And to all of you who are watching online, whether it's Facebook or on the Burning Spear TV YouTube page, and also to everyone present in this room, because this is the part where everybody gets to participate in making history. So, Chimarenga, if you are in the room, you're actually going to get, envelopes and pins, and you guys will also be able to participate in this process. But we are really calling on all of you to make this $2,000 happen. And as it was stated, we really want to do this broadsheet newspaper where, we want to distribute to at least 20,000 people in this city to tell them the story of, what has happened, what the city government is doing, and what the solution is. Because we're not just talking about a problem, we're talking about this 10-point platform that's going to bring solutions. And so we want to be able to distribute that. And it's really important because there's been a media whiteout of these campaigns. You would think that, two campaigns in the South, of this country talking about reparations in a country that's talking about reparations all over the place, that it would make the local newspaper here at least. No, they are not trying to cover this because they do not want people to know about it. And in fact, they're only reporting on the candidates that work for them. They constantly put out articles about my opponents, Anne's opponents, that are really just going to work with them when this whole thing is over. And so we really have to fight this media whiteout because we have to get name recognition. We have to get a word out about these platforms. And also because this is not a big money campaign. You see it happen on the national level, but even locally here in 2017, we had to make, the most expensive mayoral campaign run in history because they were struggling really hard against this question of reparations. And so, it took millions of dollars for them to take that election in 2017, and they're going to try the same thing in this one. In fact, the same big developers real estate developers like John Katzmatidis, who's bought up plots of land here in St. Pete and pushed black people out of the city. They're funding, my opponent, and they're funding the pockets of the city council people who are already in the government, funding our opponents. And so they're just basically getting paid by the same people that they're supposed to work for. And so our opponents have tens of thousands of dollars already in their bank account. And we have 2 elections we have to win. We have to win the primary election, which is August 27th, and then we have to win the general election because we're going to go past the primary. And, it's a rigged setup here, how they have it, where in the primary election, that everybody apparently, it said that there's a single-member district primary where the people within a district get to vote for who they want to represent them, but then the vote of the district totally does not matter come the general election, where the overwhelming white population gets to determine who is going to represent a primarily black district. And so we have 2 elections that we have to win, the primary and the general, so we need these resources. We're not getting them from big developers, we're getting them from people like you. In fact, the average donor donates $27 to my campaign. And it's around the same one for Anne. $27 a person donating to this campaign. And so we need you guys to do that today. Donate $27 if you got it, donate more. And you want to tell them about the specifications in terms of the 1,000 that they can do and where to donate.
Okay. All right, very good. So, yes, so we need you, the people, because this is a people's campaign. This is regular people who don't usually have any power, and this is an opportunity for us to have some power, working under the leadership of the black community and working for reparations as the starting point to solving all the problems. So yes, we need $1,000 for each campaign, and in this election you can give up to $50 in cash to each candidate, and you can give up to $1,000 total for the primary. So if there's somebody out there who has $2,000, just go ahead, as the chairman said earlier, and go to voteakile.com, votehirsch.com, and put that money in there, because this is an opportunity for us to change the world. And I know there are so many white people out there who are just sick and tired. I mean, people are doing opioids. They're just sick and tired of this capitalist system that's oppressing everyone. And it began with the oppression of the black community, and it will be solved by the power and determination of the black community. So we need to be under their leadership, supporting this campaign. You can also send to P.O. boxes if you want to send a check. You can send to Akilé. Your check should be made out to the committee to elect Eritha Akilé Cainion for District 7 City Council, to P.O. Box 963. 936. Oh, sorry. P.O. Box 936, St. Petersburg 33731. So again, that's P.O. Box 936, St. Petersburg 33731. You can also send a check to the committee to elect Anne Hirsch for District 5, and that P.O. Box is 976, and it's the same zip code, St. Petersburg, Florida 33731.
So yeah, because if you don't have a card and you want to send cash or you want to send a check, again, those are really important addresses to remember. And we want to thank some of the donors that have come in already. All of these sticky notes I have are from donors already, so I'm really excited to read these off. Yep. So Jackson Hollingsworth from St. Petersburg, Florida, donated $100 to each campaign.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you, Jackson.
And Allison Honey, she did $50 to each campaign. So thank you, Allison. We appreciate you.
Allie's in Philly. I said 50. Philly. We have Kenyon Crosby from Orlando, donated $10 each campaign. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Kenyon, thank you.
All right, we have Ruby Gittleson donated $25 to the Akilé campaign. Uhuru, Ruby. Ruby's also in Philly. Then we have Wendy Craig, $25 for the Akilé campaign. Ridge Francis with $50 to the Akilé campaign. So thank you, Wendy Craig and Ridge Francis. And then we have Penny Hess for $25 for the Akilé campaign. And we have Osenu with $100 to each campaign. So Uhuru, Penny Hess, and Osenu. And we also have Renee Nassar from St. Pete with $10 to the Akilé campaign. Uhuru. So the total combined that we have right now is $655. Uhuru. So thank you for all who have contributed so far. Again, our goal is $2,000, $1,000 for each candidate to be able to make happen what it is that we need to make happen. We not only have these broadsheets, but we also need, we have our amazing t-shirts, which I know this is kind of impromptu, but I don't know if David and Olafin could come show these really quickly. Just flash the camera a little bit, very appropriately, of course.
Yeah, you don't have to show your abs.
But we have these amazing t-shirts that we have to continue to print. You see that? Unity through Reparations, make the South Side Black again. And we have yard signs. We need to paint this city teal and orange. Everywhere they look, they need to see these, what is going to be to them enemy colors, but these are colors of victory. So we want to paint this city teal and orange. So this is all the kinds of stuff. This is why we need the resources to make this happen. We want to send out mailers to our voters so that when mail-in ballots come out in July, and even before the primary on August 27th, the people get straight to their mail, a thing that says vote for Akilé and Anne. And so we want to be able to do all of those things, and those things cost resources. So it's really critical that we get these $2,000 this evening. And was anybody able to contribute in the room that we did not get? Are these empty? Oh, great. All right, so we have $20 from Crown, Uhuru, to the Akilé campaign. We got $9 from Tama Goldberg Gadini, Uhuru. She is the spirit of this campaign. Uhuru Tama. Uhuru. And anything else coming through online?
I think it's, I just really want to say I think it's important for people to recognize what it is that we're up against here. That you are in a contest. You are in a contest with big developers, with major corporations who are fighting against this demand for reparations. This is a reparations campaign. This is a demand for reparations that's been put on the ballot. You are against the developers and corporations who opposed, to our struggle to make St. Petersburg black again, make the South Side black again. They are pushing gentrification of our community. This is what it is that you are fighting with. When you come on board, when you send your resources, you won't be able to send as much resources as these corporations and big money forces, but you can help to be a major part of this contest, because we don't need the money that they have. We just need enough money to be able to reach the people. These candidates reach the people, we win. You win. So it's extremely important to make this happen. And if we win this one here, when we win this one here, then it opens the door for more victories every place else. Just like they're talking about today in the U.S. Congress, they're talking about reparations. It's because that door was open in 1982 with the first tribunal, World Tribunal on Reparations for African People. So we opened the door there, we can open the door here with these campaigns. So this is again just a call. And if there's somebody here, somebody watching this who's got $2,000 that you can give to this campaign, and this will be an amazing victory. We've got to get this, this newspaper out to be able to speak directly to the people. We have to go around the corporate newspapers because obviously the corporations do not have an interest in seeing reparations, real, genuine reparations happen, and they have intent to gentrify this community, to push the African people out of the city of St. Petersburg. We need $2,000, brothers and sisters, comrades. Uhuru. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I just want to say how really important this is because, you know, I lived in this city from the time I was 3, but it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I heard about reparations because of the chairman's campaign. So it's really important that we have this broadsheet and these mailers so that we can send it out, because white people like me, I didn't know what to do. I wanted to do something about this horrible relationship that I was in, where I was part of an oppressor nation, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't want my community to be built at the expense of the black community. And so when we have these mailers and when we have this broadsheet, we're going to be getting it out all over St. Petersburg so people will be able to unite, because there's people who want to unite who don't know yet. And so that's what's so important about this campaign. So when you contribute tonight, you're contributing to our ability to put reparations out deeper and deeper into the white community and to also raise the issue in the black community.
Girl, yeah, because so many people don't even know what's going on or the things that are happening, and they know it because they're experiencing it, but to even be able to say, okay, well, this is what we need to do. You know, all of these discussions that we have with people who are very enthusiastic the moment they hear about these campaigns, because we're knocking on doors, you know, we're calling people, we're doing the real work, you know, sweating out here, boots on the ground type of work it is that we have to do in order to be able to communicate with people. And it's just shocking. People don't even know that there's an election going on. And of course, we're not really surprised by that, but it's, you know, it's a problem because the elections are supposed to be this thing that, you know, it's supposed to be this process that the people are involved in, so they say. And, you know, it's just a clear indication every time we go up to somebody's door, they don't know who their council person is. That means a statement of the fact that their council person doesn't do anything. And, you know, that they don't even know that there's an election even happening. So that, again, they just get to have this discussion in these rooms that you're not in, and they get to make these decisions about the fate of your community. And you'll never get to be a part of it. You'll never be able to... You won't even have a chance to fight. And so now this is our fighting chance. And so we have to be able to put this out into the hands of everyone, to these brothers and sisters on the corner, on the streets. You know, we want to be out in the black community and everywhere throughout the city, at breakfast spots at 6 o'clock in the morning before people go off and, you know, to long, grueling days at work, to, you know, late at night. We want to be there, and we want to get this information out to people because they need it. They have to see this campaign fighting in their interest, and then they have to join. We need people to join this movement because it's yours. It belongs to you. This platform belongs to you. This is not about getting people some jobs, you know, in office. This is about transforming lives, transforming history, and, you know, bringing power into the hands of our community, which nobody else is talking about.
Does it make sense to say that we could send a copy of the newspaper to everybody who sends $50?
Okay.
Yeah. This is a historic, it's going to be a historic newspaper.
Yep.
A $50 donation will get you a copy. We will send a copy of the newspaper to anybody who donates $50. Like I said, it's going to be an historic newspaper for this campaign and for the whole movement and struggle for reparations.
Uhuru. And we got some donations in?
Yes, so Renee, $10. Penny, $25, Wendy Craig, $25, and Janice Cant, $100. So, thank you, comrades. These are white people supporting reparations.
And we also got Aisha from Huntsville, Alabama, $10 to each campaign.
Aisha.
And we also have Nana Y'all Grant out in Philadelphia, says $100. So Nana Y'all. y'all gets him a newspaper. Look at that.
Yeah.
Girl. So the stakes are high, $50 and $50 or more, and you get one of these historic broadsheets. You'll never find a newspaper like it unless you read the Burning Spear. But this is going to be a huge, a huge piece of propaganda, this piece of literature that we're going to be putting out. And, it's going to be really dynamic. It really does tell a story. It paints the picture of what it is that St. Pete has, the St. Pete city government has done to black people, which when you read it, no matter where you're watching from, no matter where we'll send it, you'll be able to point it to the conditions of the black community in that city and be able to understand this is why what we're doing in St. Pete is so critical. So I hope that just really informs everybody as to why no matter where you are, you need to support these campaigns. You need to ensure victory right here in St. Pete because it means victory for you. And again, we are in the process of building a social movement that, it's not the city government's not going to do anything. It's not going to make anything happen. It's not going to grow a conscience. What has to happen is that the people have, again, adopted this platform, adopted the demand for reparations as their own, and then continue to fight for it so that no matter what happens in this election, that the demand for reparations will always be on the table and that the discussion will never be off ever again. It'll always be being had. And we got our total. So we have, Uhuru Commerce, so we have $974 is our total right now. But I want to push us past 1,000. So what's about
Anonymous donor.
Anonymous?
I don't know. With the rules, they make it hard for us to count. I have nothing for cash. So.
Oh, I see.
Oh, nothing but cash. Oh, I see.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it
Yeah.
work. All right.
I think that people should, think bold because if we win this thing with Anne, when we win this thing with Anne and Akilé, we can take over the whole city council, the city government. I mean, a victory with Anne Hirsch means other white people can be moved too. Right now, it's difficult sometimes for some white people to do the right thing because they feel like they're moving in isolation or they're by themselves. But to see Anne boldly stepping out there like this will encourage other white people. And it will encourage others to even run for office on the same platform. We take these two seats. When we take these two seats, we will initiate a whole new political trajectory for the city and for much of the country. And we talk about turning the South Side black again. We'll help to turn St. Petersburg black again because when we win this election and it becomes a reparations city, it becomes a place where Africans from throughout the country will want to gravitate toward, and we create we end the hostility in this city that exists in all the cities around this country toward African people. It can be an entirely different thing, will be an entirely different thing. So we only need about another $1,000 or so to take us over the hump. Uhuru, yeah.
We got a donation from my campaign manager, Chimaranga Silambao, for $25, which brings us to $999. Oh, we got, you said 10 apiece. All right, so we got 20 more to this total. Any more in the room and online, do not feel free to continue. Do not stop.
One of the things that the chairman has said during this campaign is that when Akilé and I are elected, they're going to look this way and they're going to see reparations, and they're going to look that way and they're going to see reparations. They won't be able to get away from it with two of us in there, So this is really exciting, and I really want to call on people to dig deep, to think about what kind of world you want to invest in, what kind of world do you want for your children, what kind of world do you want for yourself, because we're talking about making change in this city within the next year. So what kind of what kind of world do you want? And we can start it here, and once it starts here, it's going to catch hold, and it'll just be a wave across the United States of, reparations in the hands of black communities to rebuild things, places that have been destroyed everywhere in the United States. And, what an uplifting experience that will be when cities begin to understand that the creativity and the power in the black community, the reparations will be used to, redevelop. It will uplift the whole city. And that's such a wonderful thought. Mm-hmm. And we won't have to be watching on television these reports over and over again of police murdering or harassing, like, pointing a gun at a pregnant woman. We don't want that. We can call a halt to that so that we will have reports of like places in St. Louis where the black community is being revitalized with reparations that the party is doing. But those are the kind of reports that we can create with another $1,000 tonight, instead of these horrible things that we see every day and that I know so many people in this country do not want to have happen anymore.
Yeah, because also when we say that reparations is how we're going to solve any problem that you see even in the city, the things that people have, grievances with, the issues that they express. I mean, people we talk to, we can say how reparations is going to solve the problem. And, you usually get from your politicians, your government officials that this, change takes time. You're not going to see it right away. Give me 4 more years and I can show you the difference I can make. And these are the kinds of things. And, and so when we talk about reparations, it just seems like this thing that'll never happen, it's too far off, it's too radical, and these are some of the things that we've heard. And we're saying a bold new vision because why not? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this future versus having to accept the same old, the same old kind of layout that they always give us, that we have to endure gentrification. We have to endure police occupation in the black community. We have to do all of these things. We have to endure sewage in our water because change takes time. And of course, over the course of time that they're talking about the change, there are rapid changes happening, and none of them are benefiting the black community or the people at large. It's all change that is pushing out black people, changing your community. You have no idea where you even live and what it looks like. So we want to not just halt gentrification, we want to reverse its effects. We want to, again, this whole thing about restoration of economic development in the black community, taking it back, redrawing these districts and bringing black people home, bringing them back into the city that black people built. And, it's just it's a bold, positive vision for the future, positive policy of economic development versus the current public policy, the negative policy of police containment, where every situation, every contradiction that is in our community, the city government deploys more police in an effort to solve it. So in order to solve poverty, in order to solve all these things that exist within our community, they say we need more police. We got to have more arrests, and we need to build another police station, and this is what's going to solve the problems in the city. But reparations is you begin to be able to have practical solutions, like the stuff just makes sense. The city government is sitting here wondering where affordable housing is going to come from, and that's the reason why they can't give it to us right now. We can't give us affordable housing because there's no plots of land to build it on. Well, I would be surprised. I see all these apartment condos that y'all done built downtown. I see places for affordable housing all over the place. So it's a very practical solution. We're saying turn, those units that you created into affordable housing. And so everything that we're saying is real, it's tangible, it's practical, and we have to paint that vision, make it real for the people, make it real for you so you can see what it is that we're talking about, because it's not this far-fetched thing. It can happen, and the more that they would try to win you to the idea that it's far-fetched, that's what it is that they're trying to do. They don't want you to embrace something like this, but you have to see what it is that we're talking about, because I know you're tired. You're tired of what has happened to your community. You're tired of what's happening to black people throughout this country, and so you have the ability right now to make that difference. So go to voteakile.com, go to votehirsch.com, make that contribution. Put in that $1,000, because even though it may seem like a lot right now, this is a lifetime investment that you're making to secure a real future for black people in the city. And again, it's bigger than St. Pete. Black people everywhere. And that's what you're investing in,
What's
and
the
everybody
limits
should be able to do
people
that.
can donate? What's the limit?
1,000 apiece.
1,000 each.
1,000
to each
each?
candidate. Yeah. Okay.
1,000 to each candidate.
Yes.
Ooh, looking good.
All right, yeah. Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela is donating $350. If you want to see a bold vision of reparations in action, like that vision actually manifesting, look at the work that Deputy Chair does in St. Louis with the Black Power Blueprint. That's what St. Pete can look like. And so Deputy Chair is trying to make what's happening in St. Louis happen right here in this city. So thank you, Deputy Chair, for your contribution. We also have $100 to the Akilé campaign from Janice Kant. Uhuru, Janice. And we have $10 from Bakari, who is out in Oakland, California. Uhuru, Bakari.
And the amazing Onizane Yeshitela, $150 towards my campaign. So, she's setting the bar high, so we got to reach up and join her up there.
All right, I see.
Do we want to also talk about phone banking?
Yes, go ahead.
If you also, another way that you can participate in this campaign, if you have a telephone from wherever you are, I imagine across the United States, maybe it'd be a little hard to make a call internationally, phone banking, but we need people to phone bank. We have thousands.
From India all the time.
Oh, there you go. So we have thousands of people that we need to call. So our aim is to reach every person in both of our districts, either with a phone call, a knock on their door, a mailer, or the broadsheet. And actually, the broadsheet will go to all those different people. So we want you to go to either Vote Akilé or VoteHirsch.com. You can sign up to be a volunteer there. And you can just let us know. Every Tuesday I can make phone calls for 2 hours. Or on Saturday, I'm going to put in 4 hours. So just let us know what you want to do. Amanda Carlosi is our wonderful field our field manager, and she will get with you. She'll send you a list of names and a script so you know what to say, and you can call voters and connect with the voters here in St. Petersburg who have this opportunity to vote for reparations to the Black community.
Uhuru. And we got more donations. We got Kitty Riley for $25. Uhuru, Kitty. And Opa donated $25. Uhuru, Opa. And we have Ui Nabulele Okoro, who donated $50. Uhuru.
All right, you all are getting the job done. Yes. We have a little bit more to go. I first want to say, Katie, thank you for your $10 contribution. And do you want to announce that one?
We have Michelle Waller, who is donating $10 to Anne Hirsch and $10 to Akilé Cainion.
Thank you, Michelle. And we are at 1,754, so we're almost there. How much more do we need to raise?
Now we're at actually 1,784, so 216.
216, that's all we need, and well, we could use a lot more than that, but we'll reach our goal today. So we can go over, it's okay.
Wait, so we said, we only need 216 more? Oh, that's wonderful. That is, as Chairman would say, splendid. I'm sorry? Yes, people can make pledges. Tell us when you are able to donate, because we also want to be able to make sure, well, we'll follow up with you regardless. You put a number in there, but. Uhuru?
I can do 20 each on Friday.
Uhuru, 20 each from Olafin on Friday.
Uyi is $50 into Anne Hirsch campaign. So thank you very much. We appreciate your support of Reparations.
Uhuru. Oh, look at that. Well, I believe if Jesse's handwriting is correct, we have $1,899. Uhuru. We are almost there. We are chugging along. Just a little bit more, y'all. Y'all can make this happen. We can make this happen. We are going to win. If this is any indication about how this election is going to go, we are winning. Uhuru. 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 So just keep rolling in the dough. Rolling in the dough. Rolling in the dough. And invest in this future. Invest in what it is that we're talking about. And, you know, again, this is something that everybody can do. And give just as much as you possibly can. And we appreciate oh, okay. We have, is it the same, Renee? Same one? Okay, another $10 from Renee. Uhuru. So that brings us to 1909. 1909. So close. Just right there.
50 each on them.
Oh, Uhuru, thank you, Chairman. He wants that broadsheet. That's what it is.
So,
Wow.
So one thing we can tell you about these campaigns is we have a 10-point platform. When you go to Vote Akilé or Vote Hirsch, you can click on platform. You see the 10 points, and if you click on those points, there's a further explanation. None of our opponents have a written out platform. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we really appreciate your support. You can see right there what you can hold us accountable to. And, you know, you can see what we're up against. People who are getting in with a lot of money, but not any substance. So.
Uhuru. And to that, I would like to thank all of you because you helped us raise tonight $2,009.
Make the South Side
black again. Unity through
reparations. All right.
Oh, we also have a pledge from the APSP Southern Region of $100. So this brings us up to $2,109. All right, and again, for everybody who has a check or a cash that they are just itching to mail in, you guys can do that. You can mail the check to Committee to Elect Eritha Akilé Cainion at P.O. Box 936 and at St. Petersburg, Florida 33731, and Committee to Elect Anne Hirsch, P.O. Box 976, St. Petersburg, Florida 33731. So go ahead and make your cash donations. Again, no more than $50 in cash, and no more than $1,000 per candidate per election. And we have Comrade Marissa in Seattle for $50. Uhuru. She says she wants a historic newspaper. All right. That's what she gets. And now we're at $21.69. Uhuru.
And you can follow these campaigns on Facebook at Eritha Akilé for District 7, Anne Hirsch for District 5. I think those are the names. And follow us on Facebook so you can keep track of what we're doing. So, you know, we'll be showing the broadsheet once we have it. And you can see us out doing outreach. You can see the team. You know, so we really, really appreciate your contributions, and we want you to stay connected with this campaign because there's a lot more that, you know, that's going to be happening, and we know you'll want to be informed.
And you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at either Vote Akilé or at Vote Hirsch. And, you know, if you don't like Facebook, but you like the other trendy sites, then you can go there.
Yes.
We are tweet masters now. So you can follow us there to keep up. And if you don't have a summer, if you're not doing anything this summer, if you're free, you're out of school, you ain't out of work, you can come right here to St. Petersburg, Florida, and, you know, come with us, join these campaigns, and make this work happen. And Jesse is trying to get some more information. Look, that is not a problem for me. It's not. I love it. Ooh. Ah, $25 from Vince Lawrence in Fort Myers. Ooh. Rona Julian has pledged $90. Rona's in Boston. Thank you, Mom. All right. Well, I see calculating things trying to happen very quickly. I know you guys want this final total, and I'm really excited to get everybody's broadsheets to them. So the final total we have, is that a 9 or a 4? Okay. We have $2,284. Thanks to all of you. All right, so you guys can keep those contributions coming, but we do have to, unfortunately, close out. It has been wonderful to spend this evening with you and with the chairman, and we want to go ahead and turn it back over to the chairman.
Uhuru, brothers and sisters and comrades, I really want to express appreciation for the support that you've given to this campaign up to now. There's a lot of work that we have to do, and again, the reparations issue is not a spectator sport. You can participate more, you can continue to contribute, you can even get people in your communities wherever you are located to come together as clubs and what have you, to raise resources, to fight these big developers and to fight these corrupt and crooked politicians here in the city of St. Petersburg. And you can recognize that the victory here is a victory for us everywhere. We can push the gentrification back. They say that it's impossible. They predict within the next 2 years or so there won't be an African community in St. Petersburg, Florida. We say that that can be pushed back, that will be pushed back, that these candidates are part of the process of pushing it back. We engage in a very serious struggle here today, one that the politicians cannot possibly understand. Most of them fold under pressure to the corporations and what have you. We're going to teach everybody how to engage and struggle. We're going to change things on the ground right here in St. Petersburg, Florida, and you are going to be a fantastic part of this struggle. I want to thank everybody again, and we say that we have to make St. Pete, to make the South Side black again, and unity through reparations. Vote Eritha Akilé Cainion, vote Anne Hirsch, and you can go again to voteakile.com. Akile, A-K-I-L-E.com, vote Hirsch, HRSCH.com. Make contributions, talk about what you can do to support this campaign, make phone calls, come to St. Petersburg, Florida. We can beat these guys, and we are calling on everybody who wants to participate in this process of making a victory for reparations and opposition to gentrification to step forward. Uhuru.